Hello, everyone, and welcome, and a very happy Easter to each and every one of you. We have a beautiful service to offer you today, and I hope you enjoy it. We have Lee Coulter in the house. We have Spirit Hill in the house. We have Karen Drucker in the house. So please settle in, make yourself comfortable, and celebrate with us this glorious day.
Don't worry, mother, it'll be all right. And don't worry, sister, say your prayers and sleep tight. And it'll be fine, lover of mine. It'll be just fine. Lend your voices only to sounds of freedom. No longer lend your strength to that which you wish to be free from. Fill your lives with love and bravery, and you shall lead a life uncommon. I've heard your anguish, I've heard your hearts cry out. We are tired, we are weary, but we aren't worn out. Set down your chains till only faith remains. Set down your chains and lend your voices only to sounds of freedom. No longer lend your strength to that which you wish to be free from. Fill your lives with love and bravery, you shall lead life uncommon. There are plenty of people who pray for peace, but if praying were enough, it would have come to be. Let your words enslave no one, and the heavens will hush themselves to hear our voices ring out clear, the sounds of freedom, with sounds of freedom. Come on, you unbelievers, move out of the way. There is a new army coming, and we are armed with faith to live. We must give to live, and lend our voices only to sounds of freedom. No longer lend our strength to that which we wish to be free from. Fill our lives with love and bravery, we shall lead and lend our voices only to sounds of freedom. No longer lend our strength to that which we wish to be free from. Fill our lives with love and bravery,
Welcome again, everybody. My name is Andrea, and I have joined you today to bless this service. Happy Easter. So as this service has already begun, I am here with you, joining together in consciousness. To start this blessing, I offer this prayer from Julian of Norwich. All will be well, and all will be well, and every kind of thing shall be well. And it is with this consciousness that I offer this dedication, first and foremost to the Divine Beloved. The Divine Beloved that lives in and through and as me, as all things of light and beauty in the world, all things of truth and consciousness, all waves of consciousness. Everything that is of that divine presence. We each are a blessing of love and light. In our own divine way, we come forth. We share our goodness. So I know this to be true. I know this to be true for me and all of us witnessing what is here before us, a renewal of life for you. All of us here at Hilltop Spiritual Center wish you well, knowing that all is a blessing and may all be blessed. So be it, and so it is. Today's reading is by Diana Butler Bass from her book, Grounded. The sky begins at our feet. Thus, we actually live in the heavens now, in the space in which earth and sky meet. God's heavenly presence is the air we breathe. And so it is. Good morning. Welcome to another beautiful day on this earth. May we take the next 3 minutes and gift ourselves a moment of internal connection to the energy within us. Relax as you rest in your seat. Rest your hands. Relax your eyes. Let us welcome this beautiful new day that has come upon us, waking up to the feeling of being alive. Grateful to be here, to be able to breathe, to feel, and to be in the presence of the sun, the moon, and the earth. Breathe in peace and breathe out calm. Breathe in love. And with your exhale, open your heart to gratitude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to connect to the frequency of love and joy and compassion. Give yourself permission to go deeper into this beautiful, mindful state. Letting go of what's to come today. May this day be a clean slate for your mind or your body, for your actions and your thoughts. May this day bring you peace to start anew.
breathing in and welcome the beautiful, renewed energy that is within you and all around you. This day, this moment, I welcome the beauty and love within me and all around me. So be it, and so it is.
Easter Sunday, 1955. It was April 10th that year. I think about it because on that Sunday, my spiritual hero, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, after having celebrated Easter Sunday, and in the afternoon with a dear friend, made his peaceful transition from this world into the great beyond. And I find it so fitting, almost a testament to his great love and devotion to the person of Jesus as the Christ and to a church that he served, a church that forbade him to publish any of his writings, that sent him into exile, that wouldn't even let him return to France in his final years. They persecuted him, excoriated him, punished him, and yet he still continued to love and to serve. And it's almost as if there's this beautiful vindication for everything that he stood for. Easter Sunday. You know, it speaks a lot to something that I want to talk about really intimately this Sunday, which is, you know, where Jesus fits into the whole story of Easter and where Easter sits into this whole mythology of a church and a Christianity and all that. And I'm reminded of the words of Annie Lamott, who says, it's just mortifying being a Christian except for the Jesus part. And I want to talk about the Jesus part today, but before I do, I want to sort of weave it in a bit of a context that goes to last week in the Washington Post. There were three articles actually that caught my eye, and two of them had to do with the fact that religious institutions in our nation and in the world are on the decline. For the first time, less than half the people in our nation go to church or attend any kind of religious services or are even part of any kind of religious organization. Think about that. There are more people who are not connected to a religious institution than there are people who are connected to a religious institution. That's a big thing because we have this mythology about who we are. And yet, it's not who we are. I think a couple things. One is, and I'm pretty excited about this, if I may say so myself. First is that another spiritual hero of mine, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, talked about what it would be like to be a follower of Jesus the Christ without the Christian church, a churchless Christianity. But more contemporary, a writer who I really enjoy is a woman by the name of Diana Butler Bass. She's an historian and she's a theologian. And her latest book is called Liberating Christianity, or Liberating Jesus. And she tells a story at the very opening of the book that is just wonderful. She talks about being in the National Cathedral in DC. And there she's seeing this icon of Jesus with the saints and angels and all that are around her. And her, like many of us, in those quiet moments, can actually hear Jesus speak. And what she heard him saying is, "Get me out of here." Jesus was speaking to her from the altar and asking her to spring him from the National Cathedral. You know, it's an interesting place that we find ourselves on this particular Easter season with diminishing diminishing populations even engaged in this. And all the stuff that is happening within the polarity of how, Christianity has sort of lost its mission, sides itself with empire, sides itself with violence. I wonder how it got this way. And, there are several things. And I want to say something at the very beginning, too, is, I have a great love for Jesus. Those of you who know me have heard me say before that, Jesus and I go way back, and there was a point in our relationship where we agreed to see other people. But I continue to return again and again to his teachings, to his presence, to this human individual who was so transparent in his relationship to the divine that being in his presence was as if being in the presence of the divine, that he truly embodied the face of God. But something went astray. Now, we know a few things. We know, and we don't know how, but we know that shortly after his death, shortly after his execution by the Roman authorities, the occupying force of Palestine, within days, people that knew him were encountering him in ways that changed their life fundamentally, giving them the courage to speak out, filling them with joy, reconnecting them. And even through hundreds of years of persecution, they continued to grow and be inspired and have experiences of this resurrected Jesus as the Christ. But right around 325, under the time of Emperor Constantine, as the Roman Empire was sort of seeing the writing on the wall, and the teachings of Jesus and the early church amalgamated itself, aligned itself with the Roman Empire, and became Christendom. A very interesting thing began to happen, that the official teaching then of this church, the state religion, said that one now encountered the risen Jesus as the Christ through the body of the Christ, i.e., that how one experienced Jesus was through the church. But now what we're beginning to understand, what mystics have known in and out, it has nothing to do with the religion itself. A religion that has aligned itself with persecution, with degradation, with humiliation, with misogyny over and over and over again. And that's not to say that there have not been good, honest, respectable, devout people. But as an institution, what we may be discovering, which I believe we are, is like so many institutions, it's run its course. But what it did is it regulated Jesus to be the sort of post-mortem travel agent. In the 1830s, there was a guy by the name of Nelson Darby. And Nelson Darby began to teach this theology known as the rapture, and in this thing called dispensationalism. Now, personally, as a historian, as a student of theology and philosophy, these are kind of goofy theologies. Rapture, that the believers are going to be sort of caught up into the air and floated away before great tribulation and Armageddon, which, by the way, none of this stuff is in the Bible, but there it was. But it's speaking to something, I think, that is salient to the conversation that I want to talk about. Because underneath this, and sort of underneath the prosperity gospel that sort of grew in this time as well, was this idea that the earth was broken beyond repair, that there was something corrupt about it, and that our true spirituality was not here, but was to find a way out of here, either being raptured into the air or up high in the sky when you die, or now going to Mars. But all of it centers around this idea that there's something wrong here, and that we're separated from our home, our mother, Gaia, the planet. The Franciscan monk Richard Rohr says this: without a sense of inherent sacredness of the world, of every tiny bit of life and death, we struggle to see God in our own reality, let alone to respect reality, protect it, or love it. The consequences of this ignorance are all around us, seen in the way we have exploited and damaged our fellow human beings. The dear animals, the web of growing things, the land, the waters, and the very air. So think for yourself, what a difference it would make. Just imagine the quality of your own life, of your own spiritual experience, of your own encounter with this first century radical Palestinian teacher and healer and lover of all life. If you spent more time in nature, I wonder if we lingered more in the natural world, if we would feel more at home in our home and would love more freely and willingly. And you know, for me, this is the message of Jesus, and this is the very message of Easter. You know, in the Gospel of St. John, which, as you've heard me say, is really a handbook of a mystery school, there's this very interesting phenomenon in the Easter story. Because, you know, they all tell, kind of like the birth stories, they all tell kind of different versions because they're speaking to different people about different events. But in John's Gospel, something really interesting happens. And that is the first person to encounter the resurrected Jesus is not one of the apostles, but his dear friend and companion, Mary of Magdalene. And when she sees him, she thinks she sees a gardener. She doesn't even recognize him. I think this is amazing for several reasons of what John is wanting to weave in here. First of all, my first question is, what is a gardener doing in a graveyard? But something else, if you look at John as a whole, it's leading all the way up to Easter. It's leading into this new way of being in the world. It's literally leading into this new world that he continues in what's known as the book of Revelation, where his vision is of a new heaven and a new earth coming down, adorned as a bride, this beautiful thing. But in John's gospel, he's building up to this. You know, there's not a lot of miracles in John's gospel, but there are 7 ones, and in them he says, like the first is the changing of the water into wine, and it says, and this was the first sign. And then he heals a Roman official's son, and it says, and this was the second sign. And on it goes to these 7 signs. And then the 8th sign, the 8th day, which is a new week, a new beginning. There is Jesus as the gardener. So there's this correlation between the 7 signs and the book of Genesis, the 7 days of creation. And where does everything begin? In a garden. And where does it begin again anew? In a resurrected form? In a garden. With Jesus, not as the creator, but as the gardener. This first new way. You know, Teilhard, again, my spiritual hero, when he was often asked, you know, why is it when we talk about Jesus, you start talking about atoms and molecules and all that? And he said, for 2 things. One is that the Easter story is not an anthropological event, meaning it has way more to do than one individual. And secondly, it's about a cosmic event. For Teilhard, for the mystics, even for St. Paul, all the way back at the beginning, the Jesus story, the Easter story, is of a new Adam, of a new race, of a new planet, of everything changing. And for Teilhard, he was always asking this question: who will bring forth a God of evolution, a God of science, of reason, of humanity, of understanding that everything is connected to everything else, and that the resurrection has way more to do with than just one individual. It has to do with the entire planet. Everything is transformed. Everything is made new. Everything is getting this new life and this new experience. So, for me, it all comes down to what Jesus taught. Not what the church taught, not about dogma, not about any of those things, but about what Jesus taught. And what's interesting is, it was about love. It was about loving God. But we have created this image of God as morose, as moody, that loves you one day and hates you another day and promises this one day, and if you don't do it right, you're going to be damned forever, and that this God of love can turn on you after you die. How do you love something like that? How do we love a God that is terrifying and traumatizing? Rob Bell in his book, Love Wins, says this, and that is the secret deep in the heart of many people, especially Christians. They don't love God. They can't, because the God that they have been presented with and taught about can't be love. That God is terrifying and traumatizing. And that's completely different than who Jesus was. And for me, what I want to offer on our Easter story is this, is to no longer see Jesus as the martyr. A martyr is one who takes on the unmetastasized trauma and shame and guilt of a family or culture. But a trickster does not take on trauma and illness and shame of a culture, but holds it within a community and completely transforms it. Like the poem from Hafiz, where he says, the small man makes prisoners of everyone he meets. The wise one, the trickster, slips under the moon and throws the keys to the rowdy prisoners. That's the Jesus I'm talking about. The one who throws the keys, who's liberating, whose message is one of healing and transformation and love and joy. And at the end of the day, we're all going to be all right. There's a wonderful story that I'd like to share. I've talked about it before, but it's probably one of the most moving stories within the entire Jesus story, within the narratives of the Gospels. And it's in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, if you're keeping score. And in that, Jesus is giving this teaching, and it says that the Sadducees and the Pharisees, the religious leaders of the time and the political leaders of the times, they're grumbling because he's having too much fun, and his message is very liberating from the institutions. And in this story, first he tells a story. He says, imagine a shepherd with 100 sheep and one gets lost. Will he not leave the 99 and go in search of the one that's lost? And when he finds it, tell his friends, come celebrate with me, because the one that was lost is now found. And then he tells another story. Imagine a woman with 10 coins and she loses one. And then she searches high and low and she finds the lost coin. And she goes to her friends and says, come celebrate with me. The thing that I lost, the thing that was creating so much anxiety because it was gone, has now come back. And then he tells this other story about what's called the prodigal son. And you've heard it, I'm sure, a million times, but the prodigal son is a very interesting story because it's really about who we choose about ourselves and who we choose about what we think God is. And so the story is relatively simple up front. A father has 2 sons, and the younger son comes to his father one day and says, I want my half of the inheritance. And the father says, okay, and gives it to him. And the son goes out, lives riotously, spends it here and there, blows it all, and at the end of the day, finds himself working for someone else, feeding their pigs, and the pigs are better off than he is. And he says to himself, what am I doing here? I should go back to my father and I should say, you know, I've sinned against you and God. I am no longer fit to be called your son. Please hire me as one of your servants and I'll be happy at that. So here's the interesting thing. When the son says, you know, give me half of my inheritance, what he's saying, what a first century Palestinian would hear is this, is I want you dead. Because the only way you get your inheritance is if your father dies. So he's basically saying, I wish you were dead so that I can have my inheritance. Nice, son. And then he blows it. But the story goes on. It says that while he is a distance off, his father sees him and drops everything and runs to him and tells his servants, put a new robe on him, put a new ring on his finger, put sandals on his feet, go kill the fatted calf, let's have a feast, because that which has dead is now alive. That which I have lost has now been found. He is doing everything to demonstrate that his son is back. And so here's where this son has to choose. Is he going to believe his story about who he is? That he's sinned, that he's wrong, that he's not done it right, and therefore he doesn't deserve anything other than being a servant, being lowly, a hired hand? Or is he going to believe his father's story? You were lost, but now that you're found, it's time for great celebration. You are my son. I adorn you as my son. Here, everything that you need. And so the party ensues. Apparently he made the right choice. But then the other brother who was out working in the field comes back. And he's not going to go to the party. He's sitting outside, you know, having a drink or smoking a cigarette, and he's just grousing. And the father comes to him and says, what gives? And he says, you know, I'm not going to that party. That son of yours, not my brother, not having a name, that son of yours has just gone and partied and roused and he's just blown his life. I have worked as a slave for you. And I haven't even gotten so much as a goat to share with my friends. And here you're partying. How can I go in there? And the father says, so first of all, let's look what the son says. First of all, he thinks his relationship to his father is like a slave. He thinks he can prove himself worthy by acting like a slave. And he thinks his father's pretty cheap because he won't give him anything but a skinny goat, you know, just that's not a barbecue. And his father says to him, my dear boy, you are with me always. Everything that I have is yours. That's what I'm talking about. And so what is this son going to believe? The story that he's told himself? The resentments that he holds? Or the story that his father says, you are with me always and everything I have is yours. So he's saying this to the religious and political leaders of the time, right? Because he's telling them, you know, what are you going to believe? What's the story that you're going to believe? That we have to act within these certain ways and do these certain things, and if you blow it, you're gone? Or that the presence of the divine, obviously the Father is a representation of God, is loving and kind and generous and forgiving. Again, what Rob Bell says is this: we are now invited to live a whole new life without guilt or shame or blame or anxiety. We are all going to be fine. All of the conceptions of the divine, all the language Jesus could put on the lips of the God character in this story he tells, that's what he has the Father say. You are always with me, and everything that I have is yours. So this is our Easter practice. What story are you going to believe? The one you tell yourself about how you don't deserve, how you've done something wrong? A story of God as cheap and demanding? Or you are always with me and everything I have is yours? Breathe that in. and say quietly to yourself, that presence is always with me. And all that is in creation is given to me. You know, I am reminded of our artist in residence, Lee Culture. And here is our Easter practicing to consider is to listen to this song. You know, for myself, it's the song I wake up every morning. When I get up after my spiritual practice and I'm making coffee and playing with the dog, this is what I sing. This is how I start my day. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. Let me tell you what I'm thinking of, because I've been wondering why it was, but it's just life doing what it does. We're all going to be fine. This presence is with us always, and all creation is ours for the appropriate stewardship, for the enjoyment of life, and for the good of all beings. And so, dear friends, on this wonderful day, whatever day it is that you're listening, it's a glorious day on this planet that we all love. And to those whom you love, and to those whom you receive love from, I wish you on this wonderful day many, many, many blessings.
It's a glorious day on the planet I love. Let me tell you what I'm thinking of, 'cause I've been wondering why it was, but it's just life doing what it does. We keep trying to mess it up, they keep trying to bring us down. So I'm just gonna smile at everything around, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. And don't tell me about someday somehow, 'cause all I need is right here, right now. I got some rhythm and I got some rhyme. I got my music and I got my mind. We were sinking in circles, imprisoned in the past. Now I'm just gonna be, and I'm free at last, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. It's a glorious day on the planet I love, because there's children playing somewhere. How's life on Jupiter? I don't care, no, 'cause we've got lovers just laying there. Oh yeah. Well, I'm no hero, I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being afraid, 'cause I've been wondering why it was, but it's just life doing what it does. And I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. I'm gonna rise above that old push and shove, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. Ah, yeah. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. Whoa, oh, oh, it's a glorious day now. Oh, 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 it's a glorious day. Yeah. Oh, 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 it's a glorious day. A glorious day on the planet I love. A glorious day on the planet I love. A glorious day on the planet I love.
Have we been inspired? Have we been lifted up? Has the song and the celebration of life and love and the renewal of this life been so filled up? It has for me. I know it has for all of us at Hilltop Spiritual Center, and may it be for you as well, for this gift of love and light is for you. So this is a moment of conscious giving to truly honor yourself and the gift that you have given yourself by coming to the Hilltop Spiritual Center in this amazing virtual celebration. We are so delighted that you have come and you have shared your good with us. We know that your talent and treasures inspire us, and that we are so grateful for the gifts that you give. I have been inspired by the consciousness through the wisdom of the teachings, for the music that lifts up, for this entire celebration, for the people that make this happen. And you are a part of that. So knowing that this service inspires us all and lifts us up to the greater good, these are the reasons why I give to Hilltop Spiritual Center. It nurtures my soul. It fills my heart. I am inspired as I go forth as these services lift us up. So we are together in unity and oneness. And as you receive the blessings from this service, we ask that you offer to Hilltop Center, to this spiritual endeavor, the gift of financial contribution. And we are so grateful that you do. Thank you so much for your gift of giving and for joining us, being a part of our spiritual center. Blessed be.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu es l'image de Dieu. I hold you in my heart. Tu es l'image de l'amour. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. Tu sei la luce di Dio. I hold you in my heart. Tu sei il volto dell'amore. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are the face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. Eres la luz de Dios. I hold you in my heart. Eres la cara del amor. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. the face of God. You are the face of God. La luce di Dio. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. L'image de Dieu. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. La luce di Dio. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are 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 the